and try to look normal for a second so my opening isn't stupid. I'm already making myself laugh.
I can't find it. Are you on yet?
I am.
Why am
You
I
might
not
have to
seeing it?
refresh. So, give everybody a minute. We're live. Somebody's watching. It's probably you. Are you on?
That's your car. What?
Refresh again.
I just did. Yeah.
I don't know. I am. Good morning. We're just getting our computer set up, so just give me 1 second.
Oh, there you go. Is
Am I
this
good?
you? Yeah. Wow.
Good morning, Diane. All right. I'll give you guys a couple more seconds. It's only 11:01. We'll wait till 11:02. Who's watching? Who's on this morning?
We've got Shelly. We've got
Hi,
Diana.
Michelle.
We got Diana McRae, Diane Lil, Michelle Benton.
All right. We're up to 8. All right, everybody. Good morning. I'm Jessica, if you didn't already know that. I'm going to say good morning to you guys if you comment now, but I will be covering up the comments later, just because we all know how distracted I get. So, I go over a little bit of housekeeping. I'll put these on so I can see what I'm reading. Okay. So, just a couple of quick things. If you haven't already liked and followed the page, please do that. With all the weird Facebook algorithms, it helps me and it helps you to know what we're doing and to get notifications. If you want to share the video or any of the posts, I appreciate that too. Excuse me. Show and tell. I think somebody had mentioned last week that you can't post a picture in the comments while I'm live, but once I post the video and save it to the page, you can. So if you have show and tell for this week, please go ahead and post that later. Make sure that the volume, I think the volume's already up. Okay. Yep. Okay. Make sure everybody can hear me.
Somebody's from the Bahamas.
So Bart can see everyone that's coming on. I can't. That's okay. So a couple of quick little things, and then we're gonna talk about. I'll tell you in a minute. So number one, just to make sure that you guys get the answers that you need, because sometimes I don't always answer my email immediately. I do answer them, but just maybe not within seconds of you sending it. If you are ever wondering if there's any kind of specials going on, if you want to make sure that we're shipping and we're not on vacation, if there's anything that you need to know, it's always on the home page of the website. It's right up at the top. So when you go on the website, onto SoManyCreationsNY.com, right up at the very top on that home page, check out and see if there's anything you need to know. I mentioned this a few weeks ago. My login part is still not working on the website. I am working with them and trying to get everything situated. I have no idea when they're going to be able to fix it, because unfortunately, not everybody's working all the time. Good morning, Heidi. I see that you're here. So I just wanted to let you know that. So again, you can't log into your account, but just save your receipts. You can still order. The website itself is working. It's just the login portion. So just wanted to let you know that, and anything else that might come up. You know, like I said, if we're on vacation and not shipping, or if there's anything, just check that. Let's see here. Good news and bad news. I guess I'm taking it better than I thought I would. I am not going anywhere for the rest of this year. I found out earlier this week 2 more shows have been canceled. So on the AQS website, it will tell you that Grand Rapids in Michigan in August and Paducah in September, which was rescheduled from the spring, they have both been canceled. And there was 1 more show pending, and my husband and I talked about it, and we're not comfortable going just with everything that's going on. So from now on out, this is it. I'm here in the office. So we will still keep doing our Facebook Lives, and thanks to you guys enjoying kits and encouraging me, I will still keep making new samples, but I will not be going anywhere for quite some time. So I just want to let you guys know that. So if those were shows that you might have been anticipating going to, I will not be there, because nobody will be there. So there is that. And I have a couple new kits. I just got them up this morning. As usual, every week I try to put up something new. And I also am enjoying making new samples. So this week I wanted to go with something simple. And the reason that I did something nice and simple was because it's summertime. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to be inside sewing all day. I want to be outside enjoying the nice weather and just not being housebound, as we all have been for a long time now. So I went with something nice and simple, but also something that might be useful if we get to leave anytime soon. Go, you know, to our quilt shops which are opening, or go camping or anything. So I made some new tourist tote bags. And I love these. I made 3 of them, so there's 3 new kits. So here's the first one. This one, forgive the wrinkles, they were kind of thrown in my car this week and they got a little smushed. So this is the Tula Pink Homemade, the sewing machines with the pink cork on the bottom, the fuchsia, and inside is the hands. I think it's called Busy Hands or Busy Fingers, I forget, but that's what's inside of this one. So there is a kit up for that. There is also a kit for the blue version. That's, again, same print, the royal blue cork, and inside is the blue. And you guys can actually see that because we got new studio lights. We're very, very professional now. It's still a mess in here, but we got new lights. So, and last but not least is this one I did out of the canvas. So that's the navy blue butterflies with the mustard, and I used juniper on the handle and also on the inside, and there is gold on that. I don't know if that's really gonna pick up for you, but that is a little bit of a metallic finish on there. So that's what's new. Other than that, sadly we didn't get anything new this week. Hopefully we'll get some new things next week. So I think that's going to be it for that, because we have a conversation to have today. We are going to talk about some things, and I know that it's probably going to be a little bit of a lengthy conversation because I know that you guys are going to have a lot of questions. So today we're going to do things a little bit differently than we normally do. I'm actually, right now, I'm taking my Post-it note and I'm covering you guys up because I don't want to see your questions. You know how easily distracted I get. So here's how it's going to work. I asked you guys this week what topic you would like me to talk about. I wanted to get your feedback. And I'll be totally honest with you. I already knew which direction it was going to go in. I had a gut feeling, but I was actually surprised by how many votes the other topic got. So there was a vote for either how I got started writing patterns or things that I learned selling bags. There were 12 votes for selling bags, and there were 7 for the pattern topic, but there was also 7 votes that said either or both, we want to hear about them both. So you are going to get them both. Today we're going to talk about the things that I learned selling bags. Next week I'm going to talk about how I started writing patterns, because it's actually a really good transition of why I stopped selling bags and how I got into writing patterns. So what we're going to do today, I have a whole list of things to go over with you guys. I even typed it because I started just writing way too much stuff down. So I just want to let you know that whatever questions you have, I will definitely answer, but I'm not going to answer them while I'm talking because this is going to be a lengthy discussion. I don't want this to go on all day. Neither does Barb. She wants to go home at some point. And so do all of you, or maybe you're already home. Lucky you. So I'm going to go through kind of the basics here. If you have a question, please make sure that you ask it in the comments. Barb's going to write it down. And the only thing that I ask, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, there is a delay from what I see on the screen to what Barb sees on the computer. So if I hold this up and somebody goes, that's pretty, I love that, by the time she reads that comment, she doesn't know what you're asking. So just be specific. If I say when I had a business selling bags, I did X, Y, and Z, and you want to know why, don't just say why. Say, why did you do whatever it was? She'll write it down, and when I'm done, I will read the questions. If I miss your question, I will go back in the comments later like I always do and say hello and answer them. So I want to preface this conversation just by saying this first. I am talking to all of you as friends. We're all friends here. I am not an accountant. I am not a lawyer. I am not a business coach. This is not meant to be a tutorial or a how to start a business kind of a lecture. This is just stuff that I learned. So please understand that just because something worked for me or didn't work for me doesn't mean that it will or won't work for you. There's a fuzzy. I just want to make sure that you understand that I am not here to give any kind of legal advice. So there may be some sensitive topics that you guys want to know about, and if I'm not comfortable answering them on camera, I will answer them later privately, okay? But for the most part, I'm an open book. I don't mind telling you guys stuff. So I'm just going to kind of start and tell you a little bit of the story about how I got started and how this all worked on my end. I started sewing when I was a kid, so sewing was not new to me. I started quilting probably around 2005 or so. I got a brand new machine thanks to my boyfriend, my husband now, bought me a new machine, and I found out that I am not good at free motion quilting or finishing quilts. I am only good at making tops. So I started collecting fabric, and I thought, what can I do with all this fabric that I have? And I just decided I wanted to make a bag. I think I was going somewhere around 2005, 2006. All of my friends were getting married. I was in my mid-20s, so there were a lot of weddings, a lot of showers, a lot of bachelorette parties. So I started making some bags and having fun with it. And when I started doing that, my friends, of course, and your friends will probably be the same way, and my family, they would all say, we want to buy that bag. Can we get a bag? You know, can we, you know, help you? Because we want you to start selling these. Your stuff is really good. And that's always nice to hear. And you're going to have friends and family that are awesome like that, that tell you the same thing. And trust me when I say this, that they mean it. Take the compliment to heart. They really mean when they tell you that your stuff is nice. They don't always know about opening a business and selling things, but they know that what you do is good. So I started just kind of making bags for friends, for family, and occasionally selling things. And I got this idea in my head. And again, I can tell you right now, if I were to do this again, if I were to sell bags now, I definitely would not do it this way, but it was an idea that I had, and I thought, why not try it and go for it? So the idea that I got was to do at-home parties. I don't know if you guys remember, you know, 10, 15 years ago, Madison handbags was like the thing. I think that they are local. I think they,
sure.
I believe they at least had something nearby where I live. They had like not a factory, but a sewing room. And so the whole concept of Madison handbags is that it was an at-home party. Excuse me, the rep brought all of their samples to you, just like when they did candle parties and Tupperware parties, and you got to pick out whatever you wanted, and you could make a custom bag. And I thought, well, I could do that. I went to one of these handbag parties, and I thought, I could offer even more options than this. I think I could do a really good job at, you know, at doing this, and people seem to really like the custom aspect. So that's how I started. Previously, years before that, I had sold candles, so I was used to doing home parties, and I thought, let's try it. And so what I would do, much to the dismay of my local quilt shops, I would go there and I would buy like 1/8 and 1/4 yard cuts just to get a sample of fabric. I would take them to the party, I would show the samples off, and I would take an order. And then pray to God that the fabric at the quilt shop didn't sell out. It didn't happen to me even once. I was very, very lucky, but let's be honest here, it was definitely a chance that I was taking. So I did that, and I would say it was probably a good 2 years that I would go and I would have these parties. But what happens is you start with your kind of core group of friends and family, and then you kind of circle out from there with their family and their friends, but you get to a point where you kind of stop. And I thought, well, I need to figure out how I can sell more bags. And that was where I was having a challenge, because I didn't know how to get more bags out there and how to sell more stuff. So I just kept doing the parties. But what was also happening with these parties, they were fun. They were a lot of work. I did a lot of, it was a big effort for me to bring all my stuff and set it up. I would give credit to the hostess for free things. I went all out. But I would take all these orders, and if the party was good, that was a good financial thing. But then I would go home and I would be sewing for days and days and days. That is why I got burned out so quickly. All I did every day after work, every weekend from Friday after work until Sunday at whatever time I stopped, I did nothing but sew. I never had a new purse. I told many people I couldn't go out, I couldn't hang out, I never went anywhere. I felt guilty if I went out and guilty if I said I couldn't, and it just kind of took over my life. So for me, that was probably the biggest issue that I had, was that all I did was sew, but it wasn't for fun. I wasn't enjoying it at all. One of the things that I did take away from this, which I still do if I'm making a lot of samples, is I got really good at assembly line sewing. And that's one thing I will always encourage anyone that's making a lot of something, or, even just a lot of different style bags. I got really, really good at assembly line. I'd make all my handles. I'd do all my pressing. So that was something I did take away from it, but I was completely and utterly burned out. After 2 years, I didn't want to do it anymore. And I enjoyed the interaction. I enjoyed making money and selling things. I got a lot of ideas from people. They would, ask me if I had a bag that looked like this or did this. And I even got some extra things off of that, things that people wanted, but I was so completely burned out. That is kind of where I'll start next week when we talk about patterns and how that all happened. But for now, I'm going to skip that. So some of the lessons that I took away from this, from doing these parties, is number one, and I'm sure we all know this, you cannot please everyone. And I want you to always remember that regardless of what business you have. You will never be able to please everybody. If you can please the majority of people, you're doing a good job. And what one of the big times that I learned that lesson that kind of soured it for me was a friend of a friend at a party. I won't mention her name. I don't think she watches, but I won't mention her name. She wanted me to make a bag. And like I said, I brought all the samples so you could pick them out and pick out your fabrics. And the bag itself was 4 patches on the front and back. So it was, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it had a cute little bow on it. It was a really cute bag. And she kept insisting on doing it in 2 colors. And I kept trying to explain to her that that was fine, but it wasn't going to look like this bag. And you keep commenting on how much you like this bag, how much you really enjoy this particular bag. And she kept making comments about that layout. And I said, I can do the same thing, but you're only picking out 2 fabrics. And she kind of got to that point where she was overwhelmed. She didn't want to pick out anymore. I really want it to look like this. I said, okay. And I made the bag. And my friend called me as soon as I dropped it off and said she doesn't like the bag. It's not what she thought it was going to look like because it only has 2 colors. And I wanted to rip my hair out because I told her that. So, of course, now there's this debate internally. She paid for it. It's hers. It was a custom order. Do I make her keep it or do I remake it to save a customer? So I remade it. And I had her, she told my friend, she picked out some new fabric. She picked out 3 this time. Still not 4. I remade it. She hated it a second time. I was beyond frustrated, and I said, I will take it back one more time, or I will give her money back, but we have to figure something out. I can't keep making this bag week after week. So I think she finally liked a bag. I still to this day don't know if she even really liked the bag or was just also frustrated. So the thing that I learned from that is to go with your gut. If you really feel like it's not going to look good and it's not going to make the person happy, then say no. And I should have said no. I was in my 20s, and we all know that, when you're in your 20s, you kind of want to please people and you don't really want to say anything. You don't want to, ruffle any feathers, and I should have. And you don't have to say yes. So that was something that I got really good at, was saying no. I'm excellent at it now. It's one of my favorite words. Well, it's my second favorite. The other one starts with F, but I don't say that on videos. So I got really good. Barb's shaking your head at me. I do like that word. So I learned to say no, because you take on a project that you're not happy with, and then when you're done, you're still not happy with it, and you also don't want to do it. And I don't know about any of you. Have you ever made and you didn't want to do it and you didn't like it? You felt no passion for it. You don't want to make it. So I was kind of feeling that way, and I just said, I don't want to do this anymore. And that was kind of where that started to go downhill, and I stopped really having fun. One other thing that I learned is that people feel that you have to keep fixing things if there's something that either they don't like or they break something. And it's not that my bags weren't quality, but sometimes over time a handle would wear out, something, a magnet might not work, whatever it was. And you have to figure out where to draw the line and decide that, like, I can't fix this enough. I fixed it 3 times already for you. I think I have to stop. So having firm policies, I was not good at that. I just wanted to please everybody. And I can tell you, it did not make me happy, and it didn't work. So that was the party thing that I kind of found out, and why I kind of stopped doing those. So there's other places that you can sell things, obviously. And I tried a lot of them. I went to craft fairs. I tried some of the bigger shows. And of course I sold to my friends and family still. One thing that I will tell you that I learned when it comes to like the craft fair kind of thing, that saying, you get what you pay for, that applies to everything. And when you pay for a table at a craft fair, at a church bazaar that costs $10, you're getting the $10 customers. And I have no problem with them. But here's the thing, this is not a $10 bag. I'm not selling the $3 pot holders. I'm selling something that I put my heart and soul into, that I bought nice fabric and accessories and now cork and hardware. When you're going to some of these events, these people are expecting a very low price point. And the last one that I did, I was sitting at a table in between the people here with the pot holders, the people here with something else very inexpensive, and the people across from me, which I think had some kind of baked good. I didn't sell anything because my stuff was too expensive. I got a lot of, oh, that's pretty, you do nice work. And then they kept walking. So for me, those kinds of things were a big no. It didn't work for me. I also tried doing some consignments. And back in the day, I've always had some kind of side gig going on. I've always wanted to have a business of some sort. So back when I was, in my late teens and early 20s, I made jewelry and I made ornaments and different things. And I took those to a friend's hair salon, and she sold them for me, and it was a consignment deal, and it worked awesome. So I was kind of pumped up that consignment works really well. Well, unfortunately, and again, it's a lot of who you deal with. It's not just the product. The people that I dealt with later on when it came to bags, it did not work out the way that I wanted to. And I will take part of the blame for that. I wasn't good at keeping an inventory. I wasn't good at making sure that I was firm in everything and how I wanted it to work. And so one of the really bad times that I had, and I tell you these as precautionary tales, I met a lady through a quilt shop that I had just started selling patterns. So I didn't really sell a lot of finished products at this time, but I had just started writing patterns. And so she was in this local quilt shop, and she commented on the things, and she asked the owner if the owner sold the stuff, and she gave her my name and whatnot. And we met, and we had a great conversation. I think that I have a pretty good sense about people. I didn't get any weird vibes from her that it was going to be a bad decision. She was so enthusiastic, loved my stuff. So I sent her home that day, I think with 2 bins full of stuff. I had an inventory. I did write it down. I had learned my lesson a couple times, and I sent her back with that, and we had this agreement that every couple of weeks she would send me a check as soon as she was selling stuff. And I was like, great. Every other day, she would call or email me and ask me for more product. And I was like, okay, so wow, you must be selling a lot. And she was like, oh, people are loving them. And then I started to realize that I hadn't received any checks. I hadn't received any compensation whatsoever, but she kept telling me that things were being sold. And so I finally just said to her, and I regret that I didn't express this to my husband at the time. We were married. He's very sensible when it comes to that stuff. I wish that I had said to him, like, I'm having this issue, but I kept it to myself, and I kept it in for weeks. And I finally called her and I said, I'm really confused. You've had my stuff. You keep asking for more stuff, which means you're selling it, but you haven't paid me. And I got excuse after excuse after excuse, and I got really down about it. And the relationship ended on a very bad note. And so I will take some of the blame for that, but I also, unfortunately, got into business with the wrong person. And you won't always know that, but you have to use your gut and really think about it and be cautious. Maybe I should have only given her a couple of things and not so much. So that was one of the bad consignments. I also had a former friend who took some things and paid me right off, even though they were a consignment, said, I just want to pay you outright for them, and then lost them. And yes, I got my money, but it was heartbreaking to know that all of the work I had put into these bags that were supposed to be sold in this nice shop were lost, and to this day have never been found. So yeah, I've had some interesting experiences that I would prefer to never do again. So if you're ever at a show and you see me and you ask me why I don't sell my bags, refer back to this video and you'll know why. So consignments for me were not good, but I know that they can be if you're in with the right person and you have the right audience. If you have a good place, start out small. Start with a few things, really feel it out, and just kind of be cautious about that. That was one of the things that I learned. So from this, my friends who constantly bought stuff from me, I had this great core group of girls that bought everything I ever made and always wanted more. I have no idea why. I don't think they ever used half the purses, but they always wanted more. They kept encouraging me to have a website. And all throughout the party, time, they were like, why don't you have a website? If you have a website, I can send people and they can buy things from you, or they can at least pick them out if they can't come to the party. And so that was when I actually started my Etsy page and my website. And I'm just gonna, again, I'm not giving business advice. I'm just kind of throwing this out there for your information. There's a big difference between having your own website and having an Etsy page. And if you've never done either, or if you're contemplating doing one or the other or both, I do still have an Etsy page. I started it with selling product. Now I sell mostly cork, every once in a while hardware. But I have built up a following on there, which is why right now it works for us, because we're selling a product that is not as easy to find. If you're selling bags and you're selling finished products, there's a lot of people out there selling them. You can tend to get lost in that sea of bag makers and makers in general, unless you have something super unique or you have a following to begin with. I don't know this person, but I follow her on Instagram. Her name is Rock Baby Scissors. She makes amazing bags. She has an enormous following. Her Instagram and Facebook following is in the tens of thousands. So she sells through Etsy. I see her post all the time. She has stuff on Etsy, but she has a following already. So right now, brand new, jumping onto Etsy on a platform like that, you may not see a lot of sales in the beginning. They might not happen for months. So just kind of be aware of that and don't get down on yourself. It's just because you are one of hundreds or thousands doing something. Even now, I don't know if I would sell a lot of bags on there because that's not what they know us for. They know that I sell cork on there. One of the downfalls of platforms like that, there are fees. There's a fee to list something. There's a fee to sell something. There's a lot of fees for every single thing. One of the benefits of it is that you can get things set up where you don't have to do a lot of thinking. For me personally, I keep my Etsy page kind of limited. We have, out of all the products we have here, a fourth, if that, is on the Etsy page because I prefer my website. I purchased the domain name many years ago. I pay for it yearly. It's mine. SoManyCreationsNY.com belongs to me and only me. I do everything on my own website and it's mine. So I can put anything I want on there. I don't have rules to follow on a platform like Etsy where they tell me what I can and can't do. So if you're thinking maybe I want to go online, you can always start with like a Facebook group or something, or a Facebook page, something that's free. Or maybe look into doing a website if you think that online sales are going to be your place. Etsy can be a little tricky sometimes. So that's just one thing. When I joined Etsy, it was not as big as it is now. And there's so many people from every country. You can get really, really lost on there. Okay.
Everybody's noticed your haircut.
Oh, yes, I got my haircut. Thank you. And I don't have grays anymore. It's exciting. I have not seen Barb write a single question down, so you are all just mesmerized by my hair. Thank you. So I'm going to just do a couple more things, and then I want to open it up. If you have questions, especially about anything I've already talked about, please let her know. I want to make sure that you get out of this what you want. Pictures, obviously, if you're going to be online, pictures are key for any platform, whether it's your own website or Etsy. Excuse me. Sorry. I'm going to sneeze. Anyway, thank you. I don't know what's wrong with my face. So just remember to take good pictures. And I am not knocking anybody. I don't want to be mean to anybody, but I'm on a lot of Facebook groups and different things, and I'll see someone just post a picture because they quickly took it in their living room. They're like, look at this cool bag I made, or look at this quilt. That's great to show your friends. But if you are going to put this on any kind of online platform and you want to get attention from it, get some kind of a backdrop. They're cheap. You can order them on Etsy. I have a bunch of them. You can get little, they look like wood or rocks or whatever. Take them outside. Get outside lighting is always the best place to get pictures. You know, get a really, really good picture so that your bag speaks for itself and it stands out and someone doesn't say, oh, it's green, I thought it was blue. So, you know, just work on that if that's what you want to do and you want to sell online. So there's a couple of things that I know you guys are probably going to want to know about. Before I get into that, I just want to kind of reiterate this thing of getting what you pay for. We have so many sources now online and quilt shops and different resources that we can buy products from to make our products. You know, for the past, couple of months here, we've been talking about the cork and the hardware and the zippers and all the things that we sell. What you get is what you pay for. So be cautious if you are the Amazon website shopper and you're kind of blindly buying things. Find some good reputable people that you can buy stuff from, because if you send a bag out in the world and it falls apart, it would be really funny if one of the bags just fell apart right now. It would be really ironic. They won't, I hope. I don't know why I just thought about that. But get good quality stuff, because if you are working with high quality, then you're going to feel confident selling it. And then your customers are going to understand that this is more of a high-end thing for you to make money off of. And I already know that you guys all want to talk about pricing. I already know that. We will get to that in a minute. And one of the other things that, again, 40-year-old Jessica is way different than 25-year-old Jessica. I wanted my stuff to look great when I sold it. Of course I did. I didn't want anyone to be disappointed with what I sold. But I also would let myself get overwhelmed by taking on too much and rushing through things. And I am so much pickier now. If my top stitching doesn't look good on a sample, I don't care if it's hanging up 10 feet away from you. I will take it out and fix it, because I don't want to be judged on my poor stitching. Because we're all snarky sometimes and look at things and go, oh, she could have done better. I don't want to ever feel that way about my own stuff. And one of the prime examples, and I'm pretty sure we're going on 10 years now, this is how much this thing has bothered me. It's in the 8 to 10 year range. A friend of my mom's, really sweet girl, was pregnant, and she saw my bags. I think she owned one of them. She saw the bags my mom carried, and she said to my mom, would Jessica make me a diaper bag? I had never made anything like that. I had never made anything so intense with pockets, and I was just getting into zippers. And if you guys remember the infamous needle breaking zipper video, I told you I convinced all my friends during this time that no one needs zippers. But this girl wanted this beautiful diaper bag. She had an idea how big she wanted it and the pockets. She wanted a zipper closure. I should have said no, because I'm not comfortable putting a zipper in yet. But I said yes, because I didn't want to let her down, and I knew how much she liked what I made. So I worked on this diaper bag, and it was awesome. It was one of my favorite things I've ever made. I loved how it was looking until it came time to put the zipper in, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I fudged the zipper up to the extreme. I was embarrassed of how bad it looked. And instead of stepping back and saying, I can't give this to you, give me more time, I'm rushing to get it done for your shower, let me make sure that I'm comfortable, I finished it and I gave it to her. And I kid you not that to this day I think about that bag and it haunts me, because I don't know how she felt. I'm pretty sure she used it. I think she even mentioned that she used it. She was a very, very sweet girl. But I saw people, as the bag was being passed around at the shower, do one of these, oh my God, look, wow, and they'd stop. And I don't know, maybe I'm being super picky about it. I don't have a picture of it to look back on it. Maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought, but I pushed myself to a limit that I wasn't comfortable with, and I let it happen. You are in control of what you do, and you have to be happy, because if you're not happy with the product you put out there, trust me, you will never stop thinking about it. And I still, to this day, think about how bad that zipper looked in my mind. So be picky. Put out your best work so that there is no question about it. Now, I told you guys that you can't please everybody, and you already know that. If you've ever made anything for anyone, you know that you can't please everybody. But when it comes to pricing is where you're going to get the most battles. And if you've sold any bags at this point, you already know that. Us as a group of makers, not just bags, but quilts, even long armors. I think Barb's a long armor. I know she goes through this. Us as makers, and unfortunately also us as women, and I apologize if there's any men watching. I know there might be a few, but us as women, we have this horrible way of talking ourselves down and devaluing ourselves and telling us in our own brain that it's not worth it. And when someone says, I want that bag right there, and I want to sell it for $75, that's the price that I've decided on, and someone says, well, no, it's too expensive. I can buy a bag at Target. I can get a cheaper bag. And that same person, I'm sorry to say it, is usually carrying a Vera Bradley bag. We're not going to go there. And I look and I say, but I understand that you feel like it's expensive, but do you understand I made that? I picked out the colors, I did the hardware, I sourced the stuff, I took my time and my energy into that. And there's always going to be those people that will try to make you feel guilty and then try to make you give them a discount. And again, 40-year-old Jessica, she doesn't throw any punches. You want it, you get the price that I put on it. It's hard. It's going to be hard for all of you at some point because it's usually, sadly, a friend, a family member, an acquaintance of some sort. My husband has a repair shop and he goes through this himself. You know, do you have a discount for this? If I buy this, can I get a discount? Do you have a deal? And it's really hard as a business owner because you're very torn in wanting the business, but also needing to make money because you're running a business. And that's one thing that I am much better about reminding myself now, that this is not about friendship. This is not about making people happy. It's about making a business so that I can have a living. This is how I pay my bills. And we all will struggle with that at some point. So before I get into talking about pricing, because I guarantee a lot of you are here for that, Barb wrote down a couple questions. I'm going to see what she has, and then we're going to jump back into this. So is it pricing questions?
No,
okay, good.
One question from Charlie McDonald.
Hi, Charlie. I'm glad you're watching.
Because I know you teach. Is that a good income source? I ask because I love sharing what I learn.
That's awesome. So Charlie's question, in case you didn't see it in the comments or hear Barb, Charlie mentioned that he knows that I teach. Unfortunately, I don't right now, but I do like to teach a lot. And he wanted to know, is it a good income source? And he's asking because he likes to share his passion. And I've met Charlie in person, and he's a dear, and I would take a class from him any day now. So teaching, and again, things that I learned along the way, we'll kind of add that into this talk. In the very beginning of teaching, I had no idea what I was doing as far as charging. I knew how to teach. I was very comfortable. I talk on camera every week to you guys. I'm not uncomfortable in that situation, and especially when it comes to something that I know about. You want me to show you how to make a bag, that's where I excel. Don't ask me how to cook, I can't do that. Don't ask me about geography. But if you're asking me about something that I am really good at, I'm very comfortable. So that was not my issue. I was excited to talk to people about things I was passionate about. The money part for me in the beginning was really hard, and I can speak for myself and a friend of mine who's also a teacher. We do things very, very differently. I charge by the hour. I have an hourly fee, and I always tell the shop or the guild or wherever I'm going how long I need. Bags are typically going to be in the 6 to 8 hour range if we're trying to get them finished. So I do charge by the hour, and I have found that that has been profitable for me. Now, my friend, on the other hand, charges per student. And where both of these can go badly is in charging by the hour. If I'm going to, such and such shop, and I tell them it's a 6-hour class, and this is what I'm charging per hour, so this is what you're going to owe me. And all students must have patterns. They must not be photocopied. They have to buy their own. Sometimes they'll buy it from my website, depending if it's a local shop or if it's somewhere I'm traveling to. Or more often than not, the shop buys the pattern. So now I'm getting the income from the pattern. So that's one thing. If you're teaching someone else's patterns, you have to kind of figure out ways that you can supplement your income there. If I'm making a bag, the shop wants to buy my hardware. If it has specialty items, then the customer's either buying it for me or the shop is. So in that aspect, it works great. However, let's say that 6-hour class is starting to run long. I'm still a nice person most of the time, and I don't want to leave, especially if I have gone a long distance to go somewhere. If I have traveled 4 or 6 whatever hours to get somewhere, I want to leave feeling good, and I want the students to be happy. So I will end up staying a little bit of extra time if the shop is open and they're happy with it. So now I'm losing money because I'm staying an extra hour or 2 and I'm not gaining the extra income because I don't charge for it, and that's my decision. Now, my friend, on the other hand, who also writes patterns, she writes very different patterns from this. She's a quilter. She, I'm a quilter too, but we're talking about bags today. She charges per student. So if she has a per student fee and she has 20 students, awesome. She made a great day. If the class ends up, because it's a small shop or because people cancel, and sometimes people don't pay before they cancel, and she has 4 or 5 students, her income went down. So there's good and bad to both, and I don't know what the right answer is. I just know that I didn't know anything going into it, and I chose to charge hourly. So for me, it worked. So between what I charge, I also will charge travel fees if I am traveling outside of usually an hour radius from my house, or 50 miles or so. I charge, if I'm at a guild, I will bring supplies and patterns and things. So even though we're only doing a class on one bag, I have all my other stuff and people will tend to buy. So teaching for me is absolutely a great income. When it comes to teaching at shows, I've had up and down experiences. Some shows have been great for me. Some have made me want to just work in a funeral home and never. So again, that's a drinking. That's one for nighttime when we have wine. So yes, Charlie, teaching is definitely a great way to make money, and it's a great way to put your passion out there and to show people what you do. And so for me, yes, it's been a fantastic source of income. So that was a very long answer. I hope that answered your question. What else do we have?
That was about it, except Eric just joined.
Oh, my husband's joined. Hi, honey. Okay, so we're going to jump into pricing. And the only thing I'm going to tell you about this is that this is kind of a general thing that's very hard for me to comment on. And the reason is, back when I was selling bags, I don't remember what I was selling them for, but I can tell you with extreme certainty I was not making enough money. Because again, we're all so giving and nice, and we don't want to overcharge, and we feel bad saying this is a $100 bag. I guess I could sell it for less. And so I know I wasn't making money. I know that I was making some, maybe breaking even. I know I wasn't doing the best job. Something that I learned from talking to other bag makers that sell their products is that they say they typically get a 20 to 30% markup on their items. That doesn't sound like a lot, so it kind of depends on how much you're selling, and it depends on how much is going into it. And one of the things that's hard when you have a business where you make things is charging for your labor. It's easy to know how much a piece of hardware costs, a piece of cork costs. It's easy to know that, but we also sometimes forget that our time is valuable. We have expensive sewing machines that we also have to buy needles and thread. We have to buy rotary cutters. We have all these tools. And another thing, and I'll go back to my husband and what he does, is as a repair shop, and he works on cars and trucks and all sorts of things, the amount of tools that he owns, it's ridiculous, but that's fine. But the amount of tools that he owns to do that job, that is why you have to kind of factor that in, that person bringing you your vehicle doesn't own those tools. You do. The person that wants you to make a purse for them doesn't own a sewing machine, or does and doesn't know how to make a bag. So you're providing this service for them, and it gets kind of tricky when it comes to pricing. I don't have a set way for you to price, but one thing I will encourage you to do is, number one, keep track of your cost. Because remember, costs will vary. If you have a coupon to buy interfacing half off versus what you would normally buy it for, there's a difference. If you go to a quilt shop during a sale and you're getting 20% off fabric, then you're saving money. You have to decide what you want to do with that savings. For me, I always kept it. I always based things off of the retail price. So I knew what I spent on it, but I also... We share office space. I kind of hate him right now.
Should I call
911? Come here. Do not make noise. You're interrupting.
Where's the mouse? I saw it.
Come here.
No.
Come here.
No.
Say hello if you're going to be in here interrupting me.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, now get out.
Okay.
But
Go.
you're not on here yet. You haven't even made it on the screen yet.
I'm going to kill him. I'm sorry for anybody whose volume is turned up when he comes in. Good Lord. Okay. I love him. That's who used to help me sell bags, just so you know. So get yourself some good support like that. So anyway, of course he has to interrupt me. Let's go back for a second. So I can't even concentrate at this point.
I do have a question. Would that help?
You know what? We're gonna pause for a minute for a question because I can't even think about anything else right now. We'll go back to pricing. Yes, what's your question?
Peg Pisani wants to know, I'm having someone help me to make a bag.
Okay.
We have no idea how much to pay. What would be a fair price?
Oh, okay. So Peg's question, again, this is getting into that hard part for me. Peg has somebody helping her make a bag, and she wants to pay the person, and she doesn't know what to pay them. Is that the question?
I believe that's,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing. This is how I feel. This is just me, how I would handle it. So I'm just going to say Barb here wants me to help her make a bag. So she's bought the supplies, she has the pattern. Barb came to me and she wants me to help her make something. I'm going to have to charge her for my time, really. I can't get too crazy with my knowledge and all that. I'm going to assume that she has, you know, all of the things that she needs and that she's just asking me for my assistance. I would either put it at for me, like a very small flat rate, like, you know, maybe $40, $50. I don't, you know, or I might say to her, how about $10 an hour? I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but this could go on for, you know, quite a while. How does that sound to you? And maybe kind of negotiate it with her and see how she feels about it. It's your time. It's her time that you're paying for. So that's a tricky one. I don't really know how to answer that. Do you have anything you'd like to put in on that? How would you, okay, I'm asking Barb actually because she has a long arm business. If I asked you to teach me on your long arm, how would you feel, and would you, like, how would you charge me? How would I pay you? Hourly.
Mm-hmm.
Are you
Definitely.
thinking $25, $10,
At least, yeah.
$25 an hour?
For long arm,
okay.
yeah.
So Barb has a different perspective because it's a different kind of business. For long arming, because long arming is not just sit down regular sewing where this person probably knows a little bit of stuff. I have to come to her house and use her long arm, or she has to come to my house and use my long arm. She's thinking more in the $25 range for kind of lessons. So I guess it really, you have to feel comfortable, and I would say if the person is spending an entire day with you, you know, maybe think about buying them lunch too and doing something nice for them or getting them a gift of some kind. Paying them, you know, per hour is probably going to be the smartest way, but I can't tell you what to charge them because it all varies. And I personally, and I'm talking about a friend. So Barb is a friend of mine. So for her to come over and for me to teach her how to do something is very different than if a stranger got my information and called and said, can you give me private lessons? In that case, I'm charging $25 to $30. So again, this all goes back to that, like, how do you do that? And not that I even want to say his name anymore because he might come in here screaming like a banshee. But when it comes to, like, my husband's business, he pays mechanics. If they're doing a favor, even if it's for a friend, he has people that he has to worry about on top of his overhead. So it's all different, you know, kind of varied on who the person is and how long you're spending with them. So I would say it kind of depends on your relationship with that person. So since we're kind of there talking about the pricing, I'm just going to throw this out there. There's
one thing Peg clarified is that they're doing it through Zoom.
Oh.
So the person doesn't have to have any supplies or anything.
Even though you're doing it through Zoom, I think I feel the same way because I know that I know that you're not going anywhere and they're not coming to you, but it is still their time. So Barb's nodding her head. I think we both kind of still feel the same way, that even if we were doing it through video, that we would still feel that hourly charge would be appropriate. So I'm sorry that I don't have a concrete answer for you, Peg, but I hope that kind of helps a little bit.
She says it's been very helpful.
Okay, good. So in between all the things that I've done in sewing and stuff, and this is why I own my own business, I've had a lot of jobs and they're all over the map. I've worked in so many different industries, but one of the ones, because I had mentioned briefly that I made jewelry, I did get a job in a custom jewelry store. And when I worked there, now remember, this is very different from me working at home and making things on my own. This was, you know, a business that had several employees, that had rent, that had all this stuff. Our kind of general rule when we were pricing things was we always went for the 3 times mark. And I've heard a lot of people, even in this industry, in making quilts and making bags, kind of aim for that as well. So let's just say that my cost on something is $10. It cost me $10 to make something. I'm not talking about time. I'm just talking about, in general, the things I needed. If I multiplied that by 3 is $30. So my $10 covered my cost, my next $10 covered my time, and my next $10 was my profit. So it's kind of this rule of 3. And that, for the most part, works until you get into really big, expensive items. And again, depending on where you live and who you're dealing with. Because I can tell you, in upstate New York, selling really high-end stuff is not going to be the same as if you live in Southern California. It's just, I hate to say climate, but there's a different climate and a different, different people. Upstate New York is very middle class, and we're not super fancy people. Like when it comes to that kind of stuff, it's hard with that, you know. Barb's like, no, we're not. But when you live in a place where you have more people that can't sew, won't sew, don't want to make anything, and they are relying on you solely, your profit margins tend to be different. And that's, you know, something that it's very dependent on where you are and who you're dealing with, who your clientele is. So if you kind of keep in the back of your mind the 3 times thing and kind of see how comfortable you are in that. If I spend $20, am I comfortable selling this bag for $60? And look around. Look on Etsy, look on different followers, on different people, like on Instagram and Twitter, I don't know how to use that, and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. Look around and see what people are selling stuff for. And you are going to see a range. You're going to see the person at home who's just doing it for fun, who's selling the same bag for $20, that the person who really is making it into a business selling it for $45 or $60. There's such an inconsistency because this is not a business that has rules. It's a really silly thing to think about, but I always think about this. Short story, I promise. There was a movie that I watched a long time ago. It's called Sunshine Cleaning. I don't know if you've ever watched it. It's about 2 sisters who decide on a whim that they're going to get into cleaning up crime scenes. It's a comedy. It's entertaining. Amy Adams is in it. And so they get into this. Well, when you're in a business like that, there's a lot of rules. There's a lot of things you have to follow. And these 2 sisters did not follow those rules. They were doing things very off the cuff and just kind of making stuff up. Come to find out, they were doing it wrong. And so they found out the rules and they did all the rules. We don't have a business like that. Long arming is not the kind of business. Bag making, quilt making. There's no wrong or right way. If you're making a profit and you're enjoying it still and you're not burned out, then I think you're doing it right. Going back to the beginning when I said that everything I did was custom, if I decided to do this again today and I decided I'm going to start selling bags, I am not taking custom orders. And if I took custom orders, it would be very, very limited. There would be a certain amount of slots open, or, you know, maybe 1 bag per month or whatever it is. I would rather just say that bag's for sale, this is the price, and that's it. Because I enjoy putting the things together, and I don't want to pat myself on the back. I don't want to sound arrogant, but I do get a lot of compliments when I'm at shows that, like, your colors are so nice, you do such a nice job, your top stitching is so nice. So I feel good that what I made is likable. And so if I was going to do this again, that's how I would do it. I would rather sell the ready-made items than the custom stuff. And maybe here and there take a custom order. Depends on what it's for and who it is. And remember, again, when people start changing things up, that's when stuff starts looking different and they may not be happy because they can't visualize the end result. So that was something that, you know, I would change now. I just didn't know any better then. And again, if you're doing this on an online platform, just remember you have shipping costs to remember. I don't charge for shipping. That's a choice that I made. You don't have to. You can always charge for shipping, but just kind of remember that if you decide you're not charging for shipping and you're selling a $50 bag, make sure that that cost is included in there. You know, just kind of keep all of your costs, make a chart, make a list, make an Excel spreadsheet, whatever you need to do. And since we're kind of talking about the pricing, the last time that I sold any pre-made bags was a few years ago. I'm going to say probably about 4 or 5 years ago at a quilt show, because we had gotten so many questions of, do you sell these bags? Can I buy this bag? A lot of people wanting to buy them. We were going to a show. I had accumulated tons and tons of samples. And so I said to my friend who was with me, I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take these with me, just this amount of samples. I'm going to put them on their own shelf. I'm going to price them, and I'm putting up a sign that says not negotiable. So whatever the price is what it is. It's a sample. It's never been used. It's in good condition, but I'm not negotiating. Most people were fine with that, except for one lady, because there's always one. There's always one person that wants to push your buttons. And she, in the middle of a crowded show, just, we went back and forth, and I just kept saying, no. The price is $50 for that bag. No. Well, will you? No. Can I? No. And the answer was never going to change. I was so adamant that I would have rather she left than for me to say, fine, I'll give it to you for $40. I knew what I wanted for it, and that was that. She finally bought the bag very hesitantly. I don't even think she wanted the bag at that point. I don't know why she bought it because she seemed really mad at me. But you have to learn to say no, and you have to learn where your limits are. And I came to that show knowing I was not negotiating, and I knew that if I broke and I said yes to her, that I would feel bad to anybody else that heard me do that or that wanted something afterwards. So you gotta watch the negotiators, because there's always going to be one that really wants to try and lowball you for something, and usually they can afford it, but they just want to try to give you less money. Do we have any other? Okay.
Not right now.
So the only other thing, and if you have any more questions, because I'm actually getting to the end of my list here, just a couple things, just kind of perspective and knowledge things to let you know buying your supplies. And when it comes to, wanting to get the best price, we all want to get the best price. I mean, that's, we all want to have, the best bang for our buck, and we want to be able to make a profit on what we're selling. So, excuse me. Hold on, I'm going to drink of water. So when it comes to your supplies, you have a lot of places that you can go. And it's going to be kind of hit or miss, and you're going to be price shopping a lot until you find the person you're comfortable buying from and the person that has the best price for what you're buying. I am not knocking anybody for using coupons. I understand, I like coupons too. Don't forget about your local shops, and even having a conversation with them. I'm not saying they're going to give you anything special, but it might be something where you could ask them if you could buy a bolt of something or whatever that is. When it comes to fabric especially, just kind of remember this. You might think to yourself, I love Tula Pink and I want to get her fabric because I want to make my bags in her fabric. And that's great. So you decide you want to open up a wholesale account. You've gone through all the things. You've got your business information. You've got your tax and everything set up. You want to buy wholesale. Just remember that every item is going to be a different, handled a little bit differently. So for instance, we sell fabric on the website. There's usually a minimum order. Sometimes there's a minimum per order. So sometimes it's not just the opening order. There is a minimum that you have to buy, and you have to buy an entire bolt. So if you're just going to make this bag right here, make a couple of them, is it worth buying 15 yards of fabric to get it at wholesale? Where interfacing is going to be a little bit different. Or like barb buying battings is going to be a little bit different. The things that are going to be used over and over and over again are the things where I would be more comfortable trying to, find a really good deal and opening a wholesale account and going to that extreme. Where some of the other stuff like fabric, I don't want an entire 15-yard bolt of fabric so I can make 2 bags. So these are just kind of things to keep in mind. You can buy bulk hardware, you can buy bulk interfacing, and you're going to have hit or miss. You're going to have places where you buy it and it's not what you thought, and you're going to have other places where you form good relationships. Don't beat yourself up on it. We all make mistakes, every one of us. And be patient with yourself. It takes time. When I sold bags, I didn't wake up one day, decide to sell bags, and automatically start selling hundreds of them. It took time. And it was because I had a good group of people that would buy them from me and that would show them off and that would talk about them. My husband, that maniac that was just in here, was absolutely one of the best advocates I had for my business, because I was a little on the shy side of wanting to go outside of people I knew. He would take my bags to work with him. Don't look at me like that. I was shy. I was a shy kid too. My mom will be on here going, no, you weren't. I was. I was very intimidated by people. But he would take these bags to work with him, with all the men that he worked with, because he didn't work with as many women. And he'd take them in and be like, your wife would like this, wouldn't she? And he would sell stuff to his coworkers because he had no qualms about doing it, where I was like, I don't want to go talk to strangers. I don't want to do this. How do I do this? So it took time. My first Etsy sale, I think, happened almost a year into having a shop. It wasn't overnight. So don't think that you're doing something wrong and beat yourself up and go, oh, my prices are too high. You just have to find your group, and you have to find your niche, and you have to figure out where that target audience is. Try everything. You have nothing to lose if you want to do this. If someone invites you to their house to sell stuff, do it. Somebody invites you to a show, try it. You'll never know what's going to work for you. And just because I had an issue with it and it didn't work for me, doesn't mean that it won't be the complete opposite for you. So, yes.
Come to a quilt retreat.
A quilt retreat. Yes, Barb does quilt retreats. Now she's plugging her own business. No, I'm just kidding.
In And long arming.
And long arming. If you'd like to know, I can tag her below. No, really, I will. But she does retreats, and that's the thing. You have a room full of people that some of which don't want to sew bags or don't sew bags. And I was at one of her retreats a year and a half ago, and they were like, oh, do you teach classes? Do you sell your bags? Because they were quilters, not bag makers. And so you never know where your audience is going to be. You never know who's going to be that person. When I met this secondary group of ladies, it was through my husband. It was somebody he worked with, and it was that person's wife and her friends. I didn't know going into it. I just thought I'd have a party and we'd sell some bags. These girls became my bread and butter. Every single month they were buying stuff from me. It never ended. And when I decided to write patterns, they were brokenhearted because they were like, what do you mean you're not selling bags anymore? So you just never know where your group will be. And just because one group is not working or one platform doesn't work, try another one. I have recently, and I don't know if any of you have seen it, been doing some boosts on Facebook with my videos to try and get, you know, some more people to watch and more people to interact. And I can set the price and do whatever I want. It's a very easy thing. Facebook walks me through it. That's worked for me. You join groups, join bag making groups, and show off your stuff. You just never know where your place is. And to segue into what we're going to talk about next week, this is the last thing I wrote on my paper, and I'm going to read this for you word for word. I said, don't forget that you started this for your own enjoyment. Businesses change, policies change. It's supposed to be fun and profitable. When I stopped having fun, I changed the structure of my business. When it was not enjoyable for me to sit in a room for 3 days in a row, when I started enjoying 3-day weekends with holidays, not because I got an extra day off from work, but because I got an extra day to catch up on orders, I knew that this was not where I wanted to be. It was not what I wanted it to be. And that is how I started writing patterns. And that is where we're going to pick up next week, and we're going to talk about that. So I don't think we have any more questions.
Nope.
Okay. I think I've answered them all. If there's something I haven't talked about or something that you want to know, please by all means comment. I will answer your comments. I know a lot of you watch the videos after when they're not live. If you're not comfortable putting it out there, you're welcome to email me. If I'm not comfortable answering it on this platform, I will email you. There's just a couple of touchy subjects when it comes to this that I'm happy to answer, but I don't like to put information out there with certain things. But for the most part, I'm happy to answer anything. So I think that's about it. If a little plug for my local shop, if you are a wool person and you also want to laugh at how dumb I am, you can watch the Log Cabins video from last night. They are having a sale on their wool, and they have lots of kits. And I wanted to show you guys this. This is a little something I've been working on. This is cork and wool, and I've been hand embroidering that because I was getting ready for a class, and unfortunately, obviously did not happen. But that's something that I think is going to be a Diva wallet.
Oh,
so
I was going to say, what are you going to use that for?
Well, I marked it out, so I think it's going to be a Diva wallet.
Okay.
So maybe next week I'll have it done if I can, excuse me, get my act together. And I think that's going to be it. So if you need anything else from me, you know how to get a hold of me. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week. So have a great weekend. Thank you.